As you can see, it's gathered water. Last night it was flooded. Anyway, the cabin got full of water because of the rain and all. So I need to make a hole down there and empty that out. I'm going to use a glass cutting bit. I was expecting a lot more meat on that thing. If you notice that little pile right there, that's where the keel starts coming up out of the water, and it looks like from this point down is where I would say the ballast starts to develop. When you compare that to the outside of the boat, give you kind of an idea where it sits. I was able to drill that hole, and this will press fit into that hole there. I plan on gluing that in with J-B Weld. I'll clean around the outside here, sand it down, then put some glue inside, shove this all the way in, put a bead around of J-B Weld on the outside, same with the inside, and then we'll figure out what size plug we'll put in there. Right now I can feel the bottom or the top of the keel, so it would have been nice to drop it down just a hair bit more, but I'm pretty satisfied with that. Yes, I did. I drilled two holes. I didn't like the first one. I'll plug it up, it'll be fine. The second one, it's dropping everything out, all the water. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to clean up this side, which they did kind of a crappy job. There's real thin fiberglass here. It's supposed to hold the back together, but it's really crappy. I want to clean that up so that the water will come out easier. Show you what I've got. I used this grinder. It's got a carving tool on it, carbide. I use it to carve, and it takes chunks out. There wasn't as much dust as I expected. Also, I have this here. It's got a diamond hole saw for glass also. It's worn out. I'm using the sides. I was too lazy to use the right bit, but this is what I came up with. Nice clean hole. Now there won't be any sludge right in the middle there holding water. There's water underneath the fiberglass a bit there. Hopefully I can dry that out, but it looks a lot cleaner in here, and I'm glad I cut that pipe off. Okay, I've just washed the boat off to some degree. The gentleman that owned it before I did added this to the door. Makes the door very, very low. I mean, not a whole lot of space to walk in, but the idea was, I think, that so long as you have that hole there running outside, you can have water up to about this point, and it'll all flush out in case you get swamped. And it's yellow because it's been exposed to the sun. But I decided just to poke holes in it and fill in all that crap there, along with this edge here. I ground this down just to see what it looks like, and then dremeled it over here. It looks pretty smooth, so if I clean it up and then a paint job, I think that'll protect it. Also did a test run on this to see what it looked like with my carving grinding tool. Obviously it leaves a rough edge, but it looks like I could clean the parts that you're not going to see pretty well. I ground this down, and I'll probably replace that patch along with a couple of others. this is what I ended up with. That is all cleared out and smoothed up to some degree. I took a lot of the binding between the keel and the wall away because it's all wet in here, saturated. There's not much I can do about it, but I guess we'll just have to be carrying that moisture. Ballast looks like they're pieces of maybe stainless steel that are punched out. So they're punches, and it looks like they may have mixed it with fiberglass. I don't know, but that would be a good thing. So I try to clean that out smooth so that the water will run out, and it's doing a good job. Next thing, I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to dry this boat out. Looks like we've got water in that black area there. Same with that one. I cleaned up a little bit more of the back here. It's nice and smooth. I've done as much as I can do. There's a lot of fiberglass I'd like to have taken off to seal it separate from the rest of the boat, because again, there's you know, some water under the glass, but it's pretty smooth now, so the water should run out real clean. I'll end up using both those holes. The back hole will be for the hull. The hole closest to us will be for the this area here. I'm gonna use some marine J-B Weld just to seal around those holes, because I want them ready. That gets soldered in there to create a seal for an O-ring. This will end up being my plug. I'll have to trim this down, but this end here receives this slug. Gets soldered on there. This is soldered on there. Then I'll drop an O-ring in there, take this and twist it in there. I drilled a hole in the boat, 3 of them, and this here I've textured with some ribs so that this will be glued or adhered to the hull of the boat. And that's pretty much what we have. I've got to put a cover over these holes so I can apply glue to the back. And I've got this stick here with the foam tape. I'm just gonna press that up against the holes and hold it down with the stick. That'll make it so when I put the plugs in there, they won't fall through. The bottom has been sealed with tape so that it doesn't foul up the threads and the cap. And of course the other end is completely covered in tape, so we only have the sides that I grooved exposed. I won't be able to pull the bottom board off until it's gotten very tacky, so we'll probably just have to do that tonight. No seepage so far, so we'll wait until it hardens up. Cleaned all this off with the grinder and 80 grit. I dimpled this with the Dremel, and I cleaned out the edges here so that I could take care of the two holes there. This one sealed pretty decent. I'll go ahead and patch that up some more with J-B Weld, and then go back inside and do the same thing, and then sand finish it. And eventually I'll have to take all this bottom coat off the boat. Until then, I'm not worried about what it looks like down here. Alright, I've applied the J-B Weld. I've overloaded the area, so after this, once it starts to get pretty hard, I'll go ahead and take a knife or a blade and trim out some of the fat, and then I'll go back over that with a nice sanding, and that'll be done. After thinking about it, I've decided to put some parchment paper over this and roll it to lay this flat. It'll help reduce sanding, and it'll even out the glue. You can see it already. It's gonna flatten it out quite a bit. I may have to put just a little bit more on later, maybe around this area here. That side looks fine, but that's gonna reduce my time. Although I'm gonna have to clean up around the brass here pretty well, but not to worry. Now we're gonna have to wait for this to dry completely. This should be the last of these videos on the boat plugs. Went ahead and sanded the surface, this copper coating, and I taped around everything. I chipped away the glue, the J-B Weld, from the edge, outer edge of this brass, and then of course I plugged it with some more tape. This is ready to paint along with the plug on the other end. So yeah, I wanted to make sure to remove the glue from the edge here because it will easily separate from the copper when it's very thin. So I did that, and that way when I paint over it, of course, you have a better seal around this line here. Otherwise, it's looking pretty good. Wow, that went on too quick. We'll let it settle a little bit and do the other side. Yeah, that's much too quick. I'm going to put this phone down and redo it.